Alright, gonna make this video here quick to show kind of a practice problem of all the skills you're going to be needing to have for Chapter 7. So the question here is Marty's Frozen Yogurt is a small shop that sells frozen yogurt in a university town. Marty owns 3 frozen yogurt machines, and his other inputs are refrigerators, cups, the mix, sprinkle toppings, and workers. And he estimates that his daily production function, remember the production function we talked about, is how much your quantity or your output changes by adding an additional unit of labor. So this chart is essentially his production function. So when he varies the number of workers, okay, at the same time with all of his other variable resources, yogurt mix, cups, etc., this is his change in output. So letter A says, what are the fixed inputs and variable outputs in the production? Fixed, remember that difference between short and long run, right? Fixed are going to be things that you can't change or are going to have a longer time period in changing. So that's likely going to be the frozen yogurt machines and maybe the refrigerators. And those are going to have a consistent cost to run. But then the other variable resources, as you produce more yogurt, you can add more in the short run in a relatively short amount of time. So we're looking at here, what is the marginal product of the first worker, second worker, third worker? So that's the first thing you got to understand how to do is figure out the marginal product. So let's go down here and we'll pull this up. So the production function we have below, so this is the same chart I just showed you above. It says Marty pays each of his workers $80 a day, so that's an assumption we'll have. Okay, and the cost of his other variable inputs is 50 cents per cup. So for every cup of fruit that's produced, we're going to takes 50 cents of inputs. Okay, cups, sprinkles, etc. His fixed cost is $100 a day. So here are some of the things you're going to need to know how to figure out: marginal output, fixed cost, variable cost, total cost, marginal cost, and I don't even have I don't have average total cost, but that's another one. So if you look here, remember marginal output is the change in your total output, okay, as you add a unit of labor. So we look here, and I'm going to switch quick. So here I got the same problem in front here. So looking at this, with no labor, he's not able to produce any cups. His marginal output obviously is going to be 0. So marginal output, as we change, we go from 0 units of labor to 1. Our change in total output is 110. So by adding that unit of labor, we added 110. That's our marginal output. Now we add that second unit of labor, okay, and we can see that we added 90. Third unit of labor, see the difference between the two, 70, and on down the line. There's 30, 20, and 10. So in this example, we have no increasing marginal returns. We just have decreasing marginal return the entire length. Okay, so you can kind of see how that would play out. Fixed cost, right? And that's a pretty easy one. You just need to find what it costs him per day to operate if you were to shut down or do nothing else. So that's there, and that just stays consistent throughout. Fixed cost is never going to change. So we can just write 100 in all the way. So now, the variable cost, total cost, and marginal cost is where we start to get a little bit trickier. Remember, variable costs are the change in costs, right, as you add more units of labor. So here it says his other variable cost, we come up to the top, is 50 cents, okay, per unit of cup, plus you got to pay your worker. So here we got one worker. So if we figure out a variable cost, we got 80. Okay, we're going to do that times 1 because we got 1 worker. So that's our labor cost. Plus, we're going to have 110 times 50 cents. So that's kind of the process that we would use to figure that out. So if you have half of 110, that gives you, what's that, 55 plus 80. So our variable cost is $135 at 1 unit. So that's 50 cents for every cup, okay, $55 plus the $80 that you'd have to pay your worker. So if we do 2, okay, you can just kind of follow that. We got to go 2 times 80. That's going to be 160. So that's our labor cost. And then we got to figure out 200 times 50 cents. Okay, 200 times 50 cents. Obviously, it's cut in half, so put 100. So 100 to that, and that gives us our variable cost of 260 in there. All right, now moving forward, we can now let's do one more. That way we have a little bit more we can see here. So here in 3, we got to take 3 times 80, which is 240. We got to add that to our 270. Times 0.5, so that's 135. So 270 times 0.50, and that gives me 135. So 240 plus 135 is 375. So that's our 3 variable costs, and we could go and figure them all out. And sometimes you'll sometimes you'll be given some of these things. Remember now, total cost, okay, is fixed plus variable. So then you just add the 2 together. Total cost is 100. Okay, total cost is 100. You got 100 plus 135 in variable, so that's 235. 100 plus 260 is 360. And 100 plus 375 is 475. And you could go and you could figure out the rest. We'll do that here. Now marginal cost. Remember our marginal cost, right, is the change total cost divided by the change in quantity. Change in total cost divided by the change in the quantity. So all of our quantities are going to be of 1. So this is relatively simple. Sometimes our oh, never mind. That's quantity of labor. That's when we go marginal. So yeah, as I said, but I set this up that way. So now we're looking at our change in quantity over here. So now we got a little bit of math to do. Okay. So our marginal cost. Okay, marginal cost. Not going to be 1 there because we have no quantity. We divide by 0. So there's not going to be a marginal cost in that first. We don't get a marginal cost to every first unit of production. So here, we're going from 100 to 235. Okay, 100 to 235. That is our change in total cost. So the difference between those two is 135, and we're going to divide that by, what was our output? Our change in quantity, 0 to 110. So if I take 135 divided by 110, so our marginal cost, okay, per unit at one unit production is $1.23 per unit. That's our marginal cost. Okay, so we're going to go, let's do the next one. So we go from 235 up to 360. So our change in total cost is 125. And we divide that by our change in our output, our change in quantity, and our marginal output, which is 90. So we take 125 divided by 90. I get $1.38 as my marginal cost. All right, so, and remember, this is going to continue to grow. Our marginal cost is going to continue to rise because, remember, our marginal returns are falling. Let's take the next one here. Change in total cost is, we got 115, and we're going to divide that by the change in quantity, okay, which is 70. Okay, and we can go on down the line. Okay, so that's really what you need to do to be able to figure out most of the problems. If you understand those skills, you'll be in good shape. If you were going to do the average total cost, okay, that's another one that we have to do sometimes, average total cost. All you need to do is take your total cost, okay, and divide it by the quantity. So 235 divided by 110. So at this level, my marginal cost is $1.23. My average total cost is $2.13. So on average, if I spread out the cost equally over all of those, it's going to cost me $2.13. All right, hope that helps. Let me know if you have questions.